So some synthesis thoughts, though. And full disclosure, I'm coming distinctly from that kind of social ecological background, a lot like what Craig was talking about the other day. So that's sort of my background, and so you can filter what I'm saying maybe through that. I thought that Susie's classification yesterday was fantastic, and in particular because it helped me to orient myself where I sit in my resilience thinking, how I use the word, what are the challenges to the way I use it, how are other people using it, and how I'm borrowing ideas within this kind of resilience cloud from different rows. And I think I'm thinking about it one way, but in fact I'm thinking about it another way. So I think that orientation for me helps to refine and increase the precision of my own thinking and how I would apply resilience in different contexts. So I think that's very useful. That's a potential use of that orientation. Another thing that I think has emerged over the week is an understanding of a continuum of different kinds of systems, or a continuum of different kinds of places that we're talking about, all the way from almost purely ecological to almost all the way to kind of social technical, with very little direct interaction with the ecological. And so I think understanding that a continuum exists of these different kinds of places and systems might also contribute to how we would apply resilience, how we think about resilience, and also the pitfalls that we might inadvertently kind of slip into. And I think your point just now about how if you were to take a classic systems level approach to a question and you're maintaining the functions of that system, yeah, you would definitely miss a lot of the marginalized people. And so that's a pitfall that you could maybe start to help identify in your application of resilience. Measuring and assessing resilience has been talked about quite a bit, and there are now a growing number of review papers that are starting to try and catalog and interpret and navigate that terrain. Lisa brought up a paper that she had put together, and another good one that came out this year is Measuring and Assessing Resilience by Allison Quinlan and a few other people, and it looked at multiple methods of resilience assessment, methods and metrics that were used, and sort of a typology of these different kinds, kind of like what I was talking about with the continuum. So that's just a pointer to that paper if it's helpful. Also a lot of arrows and diagrams. I think most of those arrows ought to be bidirectional, and there probably ought to be more arrows connecting the different places. I was talking with somebody last night about the your figure with the boundary objects, Scott's figure that he presented yesterday, and how there's definitely leapfrogging going from the climate scientists directly to the information users. In fact, some of those users might be climate scientists because they live in those communities. And so understanding that there are those other connections might help. And then just a few comments on what resilience can bring to the table in terms of kind of the toolbox of what resilience might have. And I think a distinct benefit of the kind of resilience mindset is the acknowledgement of nonlinearity and nonlinear change, and how that can exist in ecological systems. It can absolutely exist in social systems. And putting that, remembering that that's a keystone, at least from the ecological tradition of resilience. Thinking about what is recognizing nonlinearity in my risk or vulnerable system, or sustainability or whatever. How does nonlinearity interact here? So I think that would be that could potentially move the needle on some projects, even in practice. So when you're talking about resilience in practice and you've got a whole bunch of stakeholders around the table thinking about nonlinear change in their reality, what does that mean? And then just finally, just thinking about the precision of how we use language, I think can be important. So the precision of how we're using resilience, and resilience can mean lots of different things. And so just being intentional about that language that we're using, and it can mean lots of things, and that's fine. But just being intentional about the way you're using it, I think can also really help to improve communication with other people that aren't from this community. So I'll stop there.
Great.